is the Africa service of Vatican Radio.
Welcome to our half-hour daily program for Africa.
In this edition, our Bulletin of Church News, today we shall close with our feature on health and healing. My name is Kanyanta Godfrey Kampamba. Today, the Lord reminds us that death comes to make truth of life. The gospel explains how to live out the weight. We go to meet God by loving because He is love. The first Twitter message of Pope Francis on the Feast of All Souls. All Souls Day is a day of prayer and remembrance for the faithful departed. Through prayer, intercessions, alms, and visits to cemeteries, people commemorate the souls of all those who have gone before us and gain them indulgences. Commemorating the Feast of All Souls on Wednesday, Pope Francis celebrated Mass in St. Peter's Basilica for the cardinals and bishops who have died in the last 1 year. In his homily, the Holy Father reflected on the Gospel reading of the day, taken from John chapter 6, verses 37 to 40, partially summarized as, "Now this is the will of the Father who sent me, that of all that He has given me, I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again on the last day." The Pope in his reflection focused on two significant words from the Gospel, expectation and surprise. Francesca Mello has this report.
Presiding over Mass in St. Peter's Basilica offered in suffrage for the cardinals and bishops who died during the year, Pope Francis noted that two words struck him from the readings they had just heard: expectation and surprise. Beginning with the first word, the Pope noted that expectation expresses the meaning of life, because we live in expectation of the encounter with God. The Pope then urged those present to ask themselves, how does my waiting go? Do I go to the essentials, or am I distracted by many superfluous things? Do I cultivate hope, or do I go on moaning because I value too much so many things that do not matter? As we wait for tomorrow, the Pope noted that we are helped by today's Gospel. It is here, he continued, that the second word, surprise, comes in. There is great surprise every time we listen to Matthew chapter 25, said the Pope. It is similar to that of the protagonists who say, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and give you food, or thirsty and give you drink?" Through the phrase, "when did we ever," the Pope said, the surprise of all, the astonishment of the righteous, and the dismay of the unrighteous are expressed. In this same way, he continued, we would expect that the judgment of life and on the world will take place under the banner of justice, before a decisive tribunal that, sifting through every element, would shed light on situations and intentions forever. Instead, in the divine tribunal, the only head of merit and accusation is mercy towards the poor and the discarded. The Most High dwells in the least. He who dwells in the heavens dwells among the most insignificant to the world, said the Pope. Let us also not be surprised, urged the Pope. Reflecting on the phrase, when did they ever again, Pope Francis noted that both the just and the unjust ask themselves this in surprise. The answer is only one. The when is now. It lies in our hands, in our works of mercy, not in polished analyses, not in individual or social justifications. Today, the Pope concluded, the Lord reminds us that death comes to make truth of life and removes all extenuating circumstances for mercy. Finally, the Pope noted that the Gospel explains how to live the waiting, and on the day of our farewell, the surprise will be happy if we now allow ourselves to be surprised by the presence of God, who waits for us among the poor and wounded of the world. I am Francesca Merlo.
In his second tweet on the Feast of All Souls, the Holy Father went back to his homily during the Mass earlier in the day and said that on the day of our farewell, it will be a delightful surprise if we now allow ourselves to be surprised by the presence of God, waiting for us among the world's poor and wounded. Pope Francis has invited the faithful to join him in praying for his upcoming apostolic journey to Bahrain. In his remarks following the Angelus on the Solemnity of All Saints on Tuesday, 1st November, the Holy Father said that his 3rd to 6th November trip to the Kingdom of Bahrain will be a journey under the banner of dialogue. Therefore, prayers will help to make every meeting and event be a fruitful opportunity to promote, in the name of God, the cause of fraternity and peace, the Pope said. The Holy Father reiterated this focus on Bahrain in his Twitter message on Wednesday, writing in his 3rd tweet of the day that tomorrow I leave for an apostolic journey to the Kingdom of Bahrain, a journey under the banner of dialogue. I will participate in a forum focusing on the inescapable need for the East and West to come closer together for the good of human coexistence. And as Pope Francis prepares to undertake the Bahrain Apostolic Journey, the Director of the Holy See Press Office, Matteo Bruni, has given an overview of the Pope's 39th Apostolic Journey abroad, which aims to strengthen interreligious dialogue and encourage local Catholics. Devin Watkins has this report.
Pope Francis returns to the Middle East on November 3rd to 6th for the second time in a few short years for a visit to the Kingdom of Bahrain. His 39th apostolic journey abroad brings him to his 58th country visited as Pope. At a press conference at the Holy See Press Office on Friday, Matteo Bruni offered reporters an overview of the papal visit. The director of the Holy See Press Office pointed out that Pope Francis will be the first Pope to visit Bahrain. He said the papal visit will focus on the twin themes of encounter and encouragement for Catholics in the region. Pope Francis will attend the closing ceremony of the first ever Bahrain Forum for Dialogue, East and West for Human Coexistence, which will see around 200 interfaith leaders gathered to promote fraternity. Mr. Bruni said the visit represents a precious step along the path of fraternity and interreligious dialogue. He noted that war, both in Europe and in various countries, will form a backdrop to the Pope's encounter with religious leaders. The goal, he added, is to continue the search for allies in a common desire for peace in our world. Yet the papal visit is not merely focused on interreligious dialogue. As shepherd of the Universal Church, Pope Francis travels to Bahrain to meet with the Catholic flock. Of the roughly 800,000 faithful, around 1,000 Catholics are Bahraini citizens, making it one of the few Gulf states to have a local Christian population. Most Catholics are expatriate workers hailing from Asia or elsewhere in the Middle East. Of the Pope's 7 public encounters on the 4-day visit, 4 are meetings with various elements of the local Catholic Church, including young people, clergy and religious, and Catholics from neighboring countries. As Pope Francis visits Bahrain, local Catholics and leaders of other religions await his words of hope and encouragement on the path to peace in our world currently marred by conflict. I'm Devin Watkins.
Pope Francis has not ceased to remember and pray for the suffering people of Ukraine. Following the Angelus prayer on Tuesday, the Feast of All Saints, the Holy Father used the moment to ask for prayers for Ukraine. This is a request he has made continually since the outbreak of war in the country, whose innocent civilian population continues to suffer the consequence of war since the invasion by Russia in February.